Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today on today's interview. If you have been around successful entrepreneurs, one of the things you understand is that their brains work differently. They are courageous, they're willing to take risks, and generally they're visionaries. And so that is why I've invited Nicole Samolis on today, because to me, she epitomizes this embodiment of what it means to be an extraordinary entrepreneur. I know Nicole from a lot of different areas around town. I have been in her businesses many, many times, and I can speak to just conversations I've had with her where I literally watch her brain break down something, and it blows my mind. So that's why I have invited her here today. I will let Nicole tell you all about her business, but she does own 3 businesses locally, and she's just such a visionary in our community. She's created Sky Armory, which is an event venue that is beautiful and modern. She's created Epicuse, which is a gourmet food market and bistro. And she also owns the Events Company, which is an event planning company. It is what it says it is. And I just love the way her brain works. So Nicole, thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Can you tell us, I told people what your businesses are. Can you give us a brief overview of who you serve and how you help in the industry?
Yeah, so we're really in the hospitality industry, where that's our business, is hospitality, and we're really working with people and celebrating milestone moments, whether it's an individual or a company. It's really those milestone moments that we're working with them on. And so in developing all the companies over time, they all fall within that realm of just, we're here about hospitality. We love to see people enjoy themselves with food and beverage involved.
So when I think of your company, I think of you see a hole in the industry and you work to fill it. Can you talk about that specifically with Sky Armory, Epicuse, and the Events Company?
Yeah, so the Events Company is the number one company, and so that was not necessarily that I saw a hole. I saw an opportunity of what I might enjoy doing as I was trying to think about making a career transition. And then having had that company we were probably in about probably around year 15, really starting to talk about the need for unique venues. So we were traveling with our clients into other markets and just using some really unique spaces. We were seeing our clients wanting to be in something that was different than that traditional bank ballroom, hotel ballroom. And so that's where we saw the opportunity with Sky Armory. So we knew that piece of the business and had a good understanding of it. So we started putting together a business plan, doing the financial models. And that was really the scalable model compared to the Events Company.
Right.
And then as Sky opened 5 years ago in the end of 2014. And since then, we've been doing events up until March. But during that time frame, so we bought a building and we developed the building. And so there's 3 floors of ballroom spaces, but we still had 2 retail rents in the building. And so you think entrepreneurially, how do I, make that best use of all of this? And so when we initially opened Sky, we thought about, well, maybe we'll do a restaurant, but there's actually enough restaurants. And in that interim, my husband and I, we actually live downtown, and so have experienced that urban downtown living. And it's a food desert. We're, being able to pick up food, to be able to go home, whether I want to cook it or I just want a quick meal. It was really spending time in the restaurants or taking out from the restaurants. So the question, and this is where the partnership of my husband and I working together, because we'll always float questions back and forth. And as we were, first of all, we realized we could make more money if we took over that space instead of just taking a monthly rent.
Sure.
And then what will it be? And so did it need to be? And so my husband actually posed the questions like, does it need to be a restaurant? And I'm like, no, it doesn't. So that's when, you start saying, okay, well, what could it be? And it was really looking at saying, that's where we really saw an opportunity there as well. Because what do we need and what do we have? And so we have a kitchen where we're producing food. So again, we're able to, maximize the capacity of that kitchen. We're preparing food for events. Why not overproduce some of those foods to be able to sell in the market? So there was just a real, just a great synergy for that. And then suddenly we were feeling this need of, okay, the customer's myself, you know, so
Yes.
I want to be able to go grab food. I want it to be good food. I want it to be unique foods. Being able to have a little bar there, but it's not your typical bars, just having great wines, first of all.
Right.
So that's kind of how we've gotten there. And so Epicuse opened in November of 2019.
You are the queen of knowing how to use your assets. I love that. Yeah, utilize your assets. So were you always entrepreneurial?
You know, that's a funny question, because if I answer, my first response would be no, I don't think that I was. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My father is a serial entrepreneur. We have many siblings. A couple of my siblings are serial entrepreneurs as well. So I think, you know, when you look back to your childhood, I'm like, well, maybe I was entrepreneurial because it wasn't like I had that lemonade stand or anything like that. But my mother went to my fourth grade parent-teacher conference, and my fourth grade teacher kind of said, Nicole's trying to run my classroom. So I've always, he needed a little help, I think. But, you know, I think I've always been one to take action. So I'm an action person. You know, I was the editor of my yearbook, you know, so I think in the big realm of things, that could translate to being entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
But it's not like I you know, went into my professional career or going to college and saying, I'm going to own a business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the time, entrepreneurship, it wasn't talked about. You know, even just the word entrepreneurship wasn't really talked about. So today, if I were, you know, a high school student thinking, absolutely, I think I would be much more appealing. That would appeal greatly to me.
So the events company has been around for a long time. You said it was 15 years before you even then started Sky and then Epicuse. What did you do kind of like after college? What were your first jobs?
So I went to school for fashion design and business. Chose the Marist College so I could actually go and live in Paris for a year, because I had a 2-semester abroad program. This is how I make decisions.
You're forward. You're always like thinking ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I get to go live there for a year. And so when I graduated from college, got married right out of college, and went a retail management route. So I worked for May Company divisions. So I had worked we lived in Rhode Island. I worked for G. Fox and Company. So I was retail and had spent about 9 years in retail management. And it was great because again, we had our family young, and it was a great schedule for preschool age kids. And so then once both kids were in school full day, that's when I started thinking, okay, I don't really need a day off during the week anymore. So what do I want to do? And I loved retail. Again, it's that customer service. It's, you know, it's just taking care of people. And so it was a matter of saying, okay, what do you want to do? And to be promotable in retail, you have to also be relocatable. And so we'd gotten to Syracuse, and my goal was to go back to Rhode Island. And my husband said, I don't want to go back to Rhode Island. So that's kind of when I started saying, okay, well, what can I do? Mm-hmm. And when you work in retail, nobody sees you as an expert in anything, even though you deal with human resources, operations. And so you have a pretty well-rounded experience within there. Right. But I was 30 years old, and I'm like, I don't want to start on the bottom rung of a ladder. So what'll I do? And so I bought 2 books, because this was pre-internet. And so the first book talked about developing a consulting company. And so I'm like, oh, well, I could probably do that, but what'll I be an expert on? Mm-hmm. So I bought my next book that talked about up and coming industries, and the event industry was in there. Mm-hmm. And so reading that, I was really looking at it and saying, okay, these are all the things I really enjoy. It's the creativity, the design, the hospitality, the customer service. And so I put together a quick little business plan, because it could be, you know, it was a home-based office. There was really, you know, minimal startup capital needed. And I picked up 2 clients, and I said, well, if I can get 2, I probably can get more. So I just quit my job. And then, you know, did the events company. And it's funny, because I've been telling this story for a long time now. And my husband heard this story about, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. So like 20 years into the business, he's like, I don't ever remember saying that. You know, so I'm like, okay, our whole lives changed on a comment you made, and you don't even remember it. So kind of typical male.
Right. I call that Etch-a-Sketch head. Like you shake your head and it all kind of goes away.
So yeah, so that took us on a different trajectory, and for me, life is a journey, and so it's been great. I mean, we were supposed to be in Syracuse for 2 years, and we've been here probably close to 27.
And we're really glad you are, because you've changed the landscape. When I saw Sky Armory for the first time downtown, so I for anybody who doesn't know Syracuse, like Syracuse was not always the vibrant downtown place that it is becoming right now. And it was there was like a dearth of beautiful buildings and a dearth of beautiful places to go. And then just one day I looked up and there's Sky Armory, and it's all, the glass and just the vision that you had I'm glad you're here.
Well, we certainly enjoy it very much.
So starting out early, I always like to ask, what are some early mistakes that you made that looking back, you're like, oh, I would have done that differently. Do you have anything to that question?
That's always a tough question, because I don't always see things as mistakes, because I'm all that, but it's funny, because it's not like, when I started the events company, I didn't have necessarily business experience. The only event I had planned was my wedding, and it wasn't, after having gotten married, I said, oh, I want to do that. Like many brides are like, oh, I had so much fun planning my wedding, I want to be a wedding planner. It certainly wasn't my interest. And so I think having just a heightened awareness and just good gut instincts, made me successful. And the growth trajectory was such that I could handle it and manage it. So, you kind of learned as you went and learn as you go. And I'm a really good person who can fake it until you are it. I'm really good at that. And so, it was being able to do that. I would say probably one of our biggest mistakes that we made was we had developed a conference that was successful here, and we took it to Hartford, Connecticut with they were more the content partner with that, and they knew the Hartford market, so they were really strong, saying, oh, this is going to be awesome here, we're going to be able to do an incredible job with it. Well, it totally bombed, and it was probably about a $30,000 mistake that we made. For out of pocket, but we were able to recoup and still have the conference, so it still appeared to be successful, just something small and very grassroots feel to it. But that was probably the lesson of not having done enough of my own market research. I kind of trusted somebody who felt that they knew that market very strongly. So I would say that was probably like our most expensive mistake.
Yes. We all have those. You've kind of hinted at a few things already. You've kind of hinted at, I don't want to say grittiness, but like really taking a look at what you want and making it happen. You've hinted at risk as a quality that successful entrepreneurs have, and vision. You've already hinted at those things. What are your insights on the difference between a successful entrepreneur and those entrepreneurs who just constantly struggle?
I think the big thing, and I've seen this over the years of just being with other entrepreneurs, is you have to go all in. You can't I've seen so many people hang on to their full-time job and do the side hustle, which is now kind of the cool term of having that side hustle, but you never get it beyond a side hustle. Right. And so again, when I started the events company, it was such that, and I had the bigger salary, but we always lived within our means. And so to lose a salary, we could swing it. And so, when I picked up 2 clients, I was just like, yeah, I got this. Yeah. Well, and again, I'm a highly optimistic person, maybe a little too optimistic, but, everything will work out in the end is kind of my philosophy. So I think that the fear of jumping off that ledge, and I'm not a high risk taker. I'll take risk in measurements of what I believe that success can be. Whether I'm right or wrong in my belief, I'll take that leap. And so again, having my husband as part of the company, he joined the firm in year 7. So that really made a huge difference because we both have very similar objectives. We get there very differently though. Yeah. So we can, and so it's that bouncing off. So that was, we saw the company grow when he joined on board too, because now we had two people who were very focused and driven
Yes.
to to the success of the company versus an employee who's coming and loving what they do, but it's a paycheck at the end of the day.
100%. Yes. I love that. So jumping in with both feet and really committing is one of the big differences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
And you have to be relentless. You have to be persistent. You cannot, that first wall you bump into, can't be like, oh, that didn't work out so well.
Right.
And I see that happen a lot of times too, particularly in the sales front. You know, you have to get so many no's before you're going to get a yes. Not everybody's going to want what you have to offer, but ultimately somebody's going to. And if it's a viable product, then it will succeed.
I see this a lot in my clients too, because there's this promise out there that if you do all the things and you put this funnel into place and you do it this way, that you're gonna get to six figures and be standing in front of your private jet within, a year. And I'm always like, when people come to me and they're just so tired by the time they get to me, I'm like, this is a long journey. It's really a marathon. And everybody out there promises you that it's a sprint, but it's not. And so if you're looking for that, I'm not the right person for you. And it's clearly like the longevity that you've been in, you understand that this is a marathon.
Yeah, and it's the journey. It's as you're going. So it's not the one question that I always try to avoid answering is that question: where do you see yourself in 5 years, or where do you see yourself in 10 years? Because I don't know.
Me neither.
That's a long way to be thinking. There's a lot that can happen between that in that time. So for me, it's really about enjoying that journey and looking for those opportunities. And so the events company and we're with COVID. I mean, certainly this has it is crippling the hospitality industry right now. And so it's not something that you can necessarily prepare for. But it's also being able to say, okay, what can we do about it? And so the events company actually, we experienced the recession back in 2008. And at that point in time, our company had added an additional kind of level to the services that we offered. So, when you got the events company planning your event, you got all the cool stuff, all the great decor and all these different things. And, where we saw opportunity at that point was not everybody wants us to plan their event for them, but they want all the pretty or all the cool or just our creative ideas of being able to transform spaces. Right. And in a small market, you don't, well, if you're in a bigger market, you're going to have these design and production houses. And in a small market like ours, we don't have that. And so we became that. And so during the recession, we actually saw 10% growth because we added this new division to our company. And so, it helped balance that out. Today since March, we have been shut down. We can be doing events for 50 people right now, but there's very few events that are for 50 people or fewer. And so, again, I don't know if it's just part of the gut instinct and part of the natural trajectory of the companies, but my silver lining is Epicuse. So Epicuse has been open because we sell food. We were deemed an essential service. So we've been able to keep that open and keep things going. So that's been a revenue stream. Certainly it's not one that's going to cover everything that Sky Armory is not able to do. Right. And we're, frightfully in a very big business disruption component right now. Mm-hmm. And for that, and I know I'm kind of taking a long time to
I'm enjoying this.
But, this is a huge business disruption. And the part that's the most challenging right now is the fact that I don't have control over it. I can't say, I'm being stifled with a 50-person capacity. So we are doing everything we can do. And again, I'm relentless in this type of thing. It's like, I need to be able to do what I need my business to be able to do. I'm already down $1 million this year. I'm probably going to finish down 2 million because out of the 75 weddings we had booked already, I have 12 left for this year. And many of them are probably going to move to next year as well, or they're going to go from these larger to 50-person weddings. Right. So we're pushing the conversation constantly wherever we can to get that change. And it's kind of, I think we've just fallen through a crack. And nobody else is going to be worrying about that crack that I fell into or my industry fell into. So I have to do something about it. And so that's what we're really pushing hard for now. And this is one of our most challenging times absolutely ever, because I'm crippled
Yeah.
at this moment. So it's tough so it's very hard for that person who's a high, like, okay, I have 12 weddings left for this year. You're like, gulp,
Yes.
huge gulp.
Yes,
Huge gulp.
yes. So the relentlessness and the tenacity and advocating for your own self and your own business. This is one of those times when you're saying you've got to keep going, like the perseverance. This is why entrepreneurs who are successful are a little bit different, because I know plenty of entrepreneurs right now who are shrugging and saying, I just don't know when they're going to let my industry open up, or we're just going to close, or we're just going to stop. Like the perseverance is one of those qualities that I just really wanted to show people this is what it takes. Before you talked about when your husband came on, that you each have different processes to get to the same place. I'd love to hear about what are your favorite tasks or things to do in your business versus maybe what your husband loves to do task-wise.
Well, fortunately for us, we have different tasks that we kind of delineate. So that's good. Like, I am definitely the idea person. I love the creativity. I'm the big picture. I like driving where we're going. He likes doing that too, and he handles more of the financial side of things. And any other, he likes to call them shit smeared footballs. He gets tossed for me. So he does the stuff I don't like to do.
Oh my God, I've literally never heard that term before. I love it.
But I'm the one who, I act as the general manager as well. But I'm the action person. I'm the one who gets a lot of things done over the course of the time.
Yeah. So you somehow, this is interesting about your brain. You somehow are able to be a visionary who can get things done. That's not always the case with visionary people.
Yes. Yeah.
I find that fascinating.
And that's why, when you ask, like, were you always entrepreneurial? I've always been an action person. I'm not one who will sit on the sidelines. If I see something that needs to be done, I'm going to go do it. I'm a doer.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I've always driven the company as well.
In a business that all of our businesses require us to be visible, to market, to have the right messaging. And when I meet people, many times that's the most scary part for them. How was that for you in terms of, I know that you're just such a visionary and a go-getter. Did you struggle with marketing and visibility at all?
Again, I think it was the need I knew I needed to be out there. And so I forced myself to be out there. So when I first started, again, you didn't have social media. You had you went to networking events. And so I would show up, and sometimes it would be awkward when you go in, you're like, oh, I don't know anybody in the room, but because I'm a person who seeks out to make other people feel comfortable, I might see that other person who may be standing off on their own a little bit. So that would be maybe the first person I would go approach. So now they don't feel awkward. I feel a little less awkward. Because it's tough to walk up to people who are already in conversation. You don't know if you're interrupting something, like, okay, who are you? And so, but I showed up all the time. And, no, I wasn't always comfortable with it, because I might seem like a very outgoing person, but I actually am also I'm a little introverted too. And so it's, going up and just talking to people. If they have my energy level, makes it easier. But if they don't have that same energy level and they're just like that, just like they're sucked, they just suck the living life out of you.
Yes.
These are hard people for me to talk to.
Yes. Do you have any advice for entrepreneurs who are at that place where you were? Besides like seeking out like a one-on-one conversation, is there anything else that you would suggest?
Bring a buddy, so that, because, and what I found was, so you're out there networking, and so I might not meet somebody. So now I'm going to do an introduction. I'm going to say, here's what they do. And if I bring that buddy with me, I'm going to tout what they do more so than what I do. And they are doing the same thing. So it's not like you're like, hey, here's my business card, and here's what I do, and here's you know, the 30-second elevator pitch. I'm not a fan of those. I'm really not.
Right.
You know, because I'd rather have it be much more conversational. So I think as you're out there, going out there, it's also thinking about how do I connect other people. So, you know, I like being able to connect people who should know each other. And because then if you're doing that, then other people are going to do that back to you as well.
Right.
And then, you know, you get to a point where Syracuse really is not that big of a town.
That's right.
And you would start showing up and like, well, okay, I know everybody now. Yeah, you know, I need to go find a new circle. And so, you know, so that's, and it changes over time. I do far less networking now than I did from, you know, the very beginning. And I, you know, sometimes I'm like, I need to be out there more because there's a lot of people now I don't know. And so, you know, it's being able to get reconnected with new people.
You spoke a little bit about this regarding COVID and how it's been just so crippling for you right now. Do you have a favorite strategy for growth or advice for somebody in an industry that they're feeling the pain right now? Do you have anything to share about that?
So I think that's where you start thinking about how does my brain work?
Yes.
And so in looking at, you know, so for me, you're saying, okay, you know, we can't be doing events for more than 50 people. So most people say, well, you know, come up with other ways you can do events for less than 50 people. I don't make money if I'm doing events for less than 50 people. I don't even make that much money for doing events for 50 people. So in that respect, it's kind of, you know, I'm a big fan of doing SWOT analysis. You know, so I'm always looking for, and I really focus on the opportunities and the threats, because, you know, right now my opportunity is Epicuse. And so I've seized that. We've seen great growth. Our month-over-month growth has been anywhere from 15 to 20%.
That's so wonderful.
So that's great because that's, you know, that's driving that. And I've also been able to focus on it. So if Sky was up and running right now, I wouldn't be putting as much attention on Epicuse, and it's a startup and it needs my attention. And, you know, working with the small team, we've just really become just like this really great little unit. So what we needed to do with Sky was just say, well, first of all, we had to just shut it down.
Sure.
So, you know, I don't know if I'm a huge West Wing fan. And when President Bartlett says, shut down the government, all the lights go off, you know, that boom, 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 and everything's going dark, dark, dark. I'm like, that's kind of what Sky felt like to us. You know, you send all your people home, you just shut down all the expenses you possibly can do.
Right.
And now we're at the point where we can be doing events, but it still doesn't do us all that much good.
Sure.
And so we're, you know, it's how do you try to make some lemonade out of that and still continue doing what you're doing? And we're still struggling with that because it's because again, we don't have control over it. So we're just meeting with every elected official. We have a open letter to the governor. We have a petition going. We are just being relentless about that to be able to change those rules to hopefully maybe salvage my October. My August is gone. My September is gone. I mean, you know, every day you see couples who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to next year. I'm going to go to next year. So it's, you know, next year, that's great, but I no longer have that real estate to sell.
That's exactly what it is.
For next year. So in the end, it's going to take me 2 years to be able to recover from this.
Yes. Yes.
And we know that. And so now we're really looking at, we've taken that deep breath and we're saying, okay, we really analyzed and looked at our business in what it was like pre-COVID. And we're saying, okay, there's times of the year that are like February, January is usually pretty good for us, but February is a very quiet month. Maybe you don't do any events in February. You know, it could be that that's the month we close down and we just do building maintenance and things like, you know, so we're really looking at all those opportunities that we can do that just minimize expenses in those months where you just don't have as much revenue coming in.
Such creative problem solving. The other thing I'm hearing from you is that this doesn't happen in a vacuum, that you're not making these decisions on your own, that you have a team and you have your husband as your partner. And I think that is something that people can Are they doing that in their, is everybody in their business making isolated decisions, which is a bad place to make decisions from, especially when you're in fear? I have thought of you so many times. I used to own a brick and mortar gym, and I have thought of Sky Armory many times, like what it must be like to have the lights shut off, standing in this beautiful face, looking around going, this is mine. And I can't use it at all. And like what that, like, just like what that must have done to you. I can only like visually put myself there. But when you are in that space, we don't generally make good decisions from that space. So to have a team with you to help you think creatively is why, I just really wanted to tap into your brain today, because this is what people need to be doing to become successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and you really have to step away. My dad has been, a great mentor over the years. He's just a super smart, savvy businessman in the engineering construction world. So his understanding of my world is pretty limited. Has been a learning curve for him, but he's been, he's certainly an investor in our company as well. So, we we have to succeed. Yes. Because I owe him, I call it the Bank of SFT, his initials. I owe him money as well, just like any of our other banks that we owe money to. And, but he's one who will poke at those questions. But his one thing has always been, you step away, so you go take a walk in the woods, you go do something where you can step away and just let your brain settle and just see where it takes you. And Kevin and I do that a lot. I mean, we don't take lots of big, long vacations, but we love getting away for, an 18 or, more like a 36-hour stint where we'll go and you're just able to, and we just talk, and that's where we do some of our most creative thinking with each other. And then we bring those ideas back and share them with our team. We try to get our team thinking very entrepreneurial as well. And it's fun when you have team members who actually that's an innate, it's already innate in them. Yeah. And seeing what some of their ideas are. And we have this one market lead in Epicuse, and she's new on our team. She's only been with us since May, but she thinks like an entrepreneur. I'm like, ooh, that was a great idea. Yeah. Clever. And these are just small little decisions she's making, but she's like, hey, I did this, but I just want to make sure you're okay with it. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. I didn't think about that because I wasn't thinking, I wasn't thinking at that level. I think at the that higher level, and she was thinking in that some of that day to day. So it's just great to see your team do those kinds of things. Yeah.
And you're like, I want to hold on to you as long as I possibly can, but you're probably going to go start your own business at some point, right? So I'm just curious, what do you think makes an entrepreneur exceptional?
I think we all have to be a little bit crazy. I think we have a little bit of, a little bit of a freak flag in us that we're gluttons for punishment. I don't know, like people say, I'm like, look, there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in business. You can't sit down on a stool and just be like, oh, woe is me. You have to, if you are faint of heart, you can't do this. You'll never succeed at it because the fear is always going to overcome you. Yes. But I think entrepreneurs are, they're innovative. They think creatively. I think they're persistent. They're optimistic. They are risk takers. That's kind of what I see. And I think they do. I think their brains function differently. Like when I even like, my husband and his brain functions really differently. Sometimes like when you die, I'm going to dedicate it to science because some of the things that come out of his mouth, I'm like, really? I really don't know where your brain got to that point. But it's one of the things that and again, this is kind of the weirdness of my brain. My brain never turns off. I'm always, like doing yoga. I do more yoga than I ever have, but the just like letting your brain just settle. Mine doesn't turn off, but what it's doing, it's like this little radar, and it's like, ooh, okay, you see that? Oh, that's really cool. How could that be extrapolated into what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at not only what's going on in my industry, but I pay attention to other industries. You know, I might just be out and maybe I'm at the theater and I see this really great stage set. I'm like, that could be, you know, so it's just, or I'm at Home Depot, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool looking. I wonder what I could turn that into.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's being able to see what people, you know, what's out there and being able to see something that, and I don't know how to describe it. So I see something and then it kind of, and then it's something else. And so, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs are probably that way as well.
Right. You've talked a little bit about that Epicuse is the startup that's getting all the love right now. And is there something else brewing for you about where your business might be headed next?
I have two more.
Yeah. You're amazing.
The next project I want to be able to sink my teeth into is with my, actually my brother and my father. We have a family trust of property up in the Adirondacks that my grandmother had owned a bunch of acres, and it was a Christmas tree farm and a campground. And so again, my father being a businessman, you know, always maintained its status as being a campground. And so by doing that, when you're up in the Adirondacks and you've got the DEC and you've got, you know, all the different rules and regulations that they're always creating, that made it, was a great business decision on his part. So we'd love to be able to develop that more into, you know, glamping, you know, lodge type stuff. So that's a fun project that I can sink my teeth into. My brother's an amazing businessman as well. And so we just have a lot of fun together. So that's one. And then, you know, at some point I'm going to be old enough where I think I probably should just kind of think about a little bit retiring, but I can't imagine retiring completely.
Right.
And so that really is more of a consulting business where I go to just properties that are in, you know, are these diamonds in the rough, and they just want somebody to be able to come in and say, okay, how do we get from here to here, and go in and just sink your teeth into that for, you know, 6 months to a year and help them take it. And that enables us to just go travel and live in different parts of the world.
That is amazing. I love your vision. Yeah, those are awesome. How can people connect with you, Sky Armory, Epicuse?
Yeah, so socially, you know, we're on all the, you know, Facebook, Instagram, for all of them. It's skyarmory.com, epicuse.net, theeventscompany.com. Yeah, great. So we're out there.
Great. I wanted to encourage people to go check out Epicuse specifically. The food is delicious because her chefs are making the food. You can have it made, you can take it away, you can eat there. But also it's just downtown Syracuse, which I always am trying to get people, because I live out right outside downtown, and you live downtown, and the city is just getting this vibrant feeling, and it's just such a nice change from a big box experience. And so you walk into Epicuse and somebody greets you, and there's stuff there that I've never seen before. There's fun little foods that I've never seen before. I don't see them at the grocery store. So I just really wanted to encourage people to go check out Epicuse if you live locally to Syracuse.
Yeah, it's been super fun. I've had so much fun with it. You know, we're creating this little neighborhood because it's, you know, it's our local neighbors are coming in. I even know all the dogs' names now. You know?
I saw that you guys had a dog bowl outside the last time I was there. Yeah. I love that you also put out tables outside so that people can enjoy, you know, and it just looks so pretty with all the flowers and everything. So thanks for everything that you're doing for downtown. I really appreciate your time and letting us into your brain and your process today, Nicole. Thank you so much. I enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you. Same here.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.